Hi, everyone. Today I'm inspired to talk about inflammation. In particular, what happens in the connective tissues, the tendons, the ligaments, the muscles, and the fascia. When a cell gets inflamed in those tissues, it actually creates a stickiness. And those tissues have a form of striation to them. And with that striation, similar to spaghetti noodles, when it gets inflamed, it gets sticky and it binds. It goes like this. And in the muscle fibers, it starts binding and contracting. It starts to pull and to shrink. That is what is this formation of scar tissue. Scar tissue is not only formed when you cut into the body and you have a scar. The tissues of the body start to get sticky and they start binding. For example, at the trapezius, we get those knots that we have. And when we go for a massage, me in particular, when I go for a massage, I feel them flicking over those knots. And it's like, it's kind of irritating to a certain degree. I just want somebody to go in there and dig in there and get rid of that. However, that's not what happens. And so what happens then is that when those muscle fibers become inflamed, they start to shrink and they start to contract and they actually start rolling over on top of each other. And that's what creates that knot, especially in the trapezius area. The longer that knot is left, the harder it gets and the more bounding it gets. It starts to build and build, contract. And that contraction over years becomes like a rock. And that rock needs to be opened up. And once it's opened up, then blood can get into the tissues and it can start converting itself back to healthy tissue. In Chinese medicine, the definition of scar tissue is tissue that has been starved of blood. And that's exactly what's happened. The tissue has been starved of blood and it starts contracting, it starts pulling, it starts rolling over to each other, it starts knotting. In the fascia, we get that area where it starts to pull and contract. What I do when I do my restorative body work is I peel open those tissues and get circulation back. And with the energy wave machine that I have and the technology that I use, it actually goes into the cell and it starts peeling open the protective barrier that the cell has created that creates the stickiness. And that protective barrier that the cell has created to protect itself from the surrounding inflammation prevents it from having a free flow of blood, lymph, and oxygen. If we don't have a free flow of blood, lymph, and oxygen, well, then we don't have a healthy cell. And we could take a pile of nutraceuticals, we could take a pile of supplements and all these kinds of things. However, our frequency isn't flowing properly and the osmotic process is not happening, whereas the cell is not absorbing the nutrients and minerals that we are consuming. And it starts to create this spinning effect. Inflammation can be caused from an emotional perspective. For example, when we have anxiety and stress, and that's why so many people suffer with this region up here, because the neck, the trapezius, it holds so much tension, and it's like the weight of the world is on your shoulders, and that cortisol will dump itself into that because it's attracted to the actual physicality of that region because of the emotional perspective. At Sharon Cusack Wellness, I focus on inflammation and I focus on what I can do to open up those tissues to create a healthier life for you so that your frequency can free flow. Your vibration can be at its highest. It's absolutely imperative that we look at ourselves from that perspective and allow ourselves to be open and free. Open and free at the cellular level. Let's reduce the inflammation. Let's reduce it spiritually, emotionally, and physically so we can live the life that we deserve and you deserve. Sending you love. And I wish for you a very happy day, a very happy evening, very happy morning, wherever you're tuning in. And I'm going to go to a potluck dinner with some beautiful friends of mine. Bye for now.